What is going on, YouTube? So I'm a little sick, you can probably tell through my voice. Anyways, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys seen part 1 and 2 of the 6hp28 swap. So I'm hoping to wrap this up on this video, or maybe we'll just have one more video, you know, tuning process and test runs and stuff like that. But we have the 6hp adapter plate all mounted up. We have the new 6hp28x transmission mounted up. So now all we should be missing is running the new oil cooler, mocking that up, fabricating the new lines and the brackets and everything to hold that. We're gonna be doing, I'm gonna show you guys one thing that I missed is actually the little half shaft that goes to the front differential from the transfer case, Joshua's adapter. I did not put that on yet, so I'll show you guys how to put that on. That's probably gonna be the edge. Alright guys, so this is what we have left from the kit. So we have the fittings that go on the side of the transmission, and then our adapter plate to hold those down, our hold down plates, sorry. We have kit. This is the little 90s that go onto this. And then we have our 8AN line. So I just got to figure out a way to cut this. I'll probably go buy some snips or something for it. And then this is the adapter that I was talking about for the little shaft that goes to the front differential. We'll be installing this last. And then we have a couple of hardware here left. We also have Joshua's 8AN, sorry, this shit gets confusing to say sometimes. Fittings and everything that the line's gonna go to. This is all gonna go to the transmission. We have some more over here, some more goodies. We have our block offs. I'm gonna show you where these go. So we have those as well, and some more 8ANs and some more hardware. So let's get this bad boy installed. Alright guys, so now we're at the bottom of the car. We're on the transmission side now. So now we're going to be focusing on these two plugs right here. This is where the transmission cooler lines are going to hook up to. This was the factory 6HP 19 ones, which I don't think you can reuse, but either way, and Joshua's kits comes with new ones. So what we're going to do is pop out the old O-rings on here, and then we're going to put Joshua's new one on kit E. So that's the adapter plate, and then the 8AN fittings. So now for the flow for this, bottom is going to be your oil feed, I believe, and the top one is going to be your oil return. So it doesn't really matter on which way you hook it up to the oil cooler, but in our case it does matter because we're going to be using a thermostat for it. Sorry, it was upside down. So our thermostat shows which way it's supposed to flow. So exactly how it sits on the side of the transmission is how it's going to go. So our feed is going to be at the bottom and our return is going to be on the top. So that's how we are going to hook it up. So now let me set you guys down. I have some aluminum foil stuffed in there just because, like I said, I never drained the transmission because I didn't want the clutches to go dry. And I believe I found out what the name of the clutches were. I was trying to tell you guys what was the last video. They're organic clutches, I believe. So when they go dry, they start to grow like bacteria or some shit on it that makes the clutches go bad. I don't know too much about that shit. I'm not a big transmission guy, but I know it's not good for it. But anyways, we're gonna start unpackaging it. Here's our fitting. So if you do mess up, there is some extra, so that's a nice touch. We're gonna put those back in the bag and get them away. Alright guys, so we're just gonna put a little bit of oil over them, get them nice and lubed up, and then we're gonna slide it into the transmission. Don't force it in, just wiggle it side to side, and then she'll start to guide herself in. There's one, and then the same thing with the other. Put a little bit of lubrication. And then the same thing. That one went in very nicely. I'm actually going to pop the top one off since the bottom went in super nicely, just to inspect it. So now when we go to put our transmission, that way you don't bend the plate trying to torque this down when these are not perfectly seated. So take your time with it and you'll get it done. So we're just gonna go ahead and tighten that bad boy down. Doesn't have to be crazy tight. So now that plate ain't going nowhere. So now we are good to start putting our AN fittings and trimming our lines and everything. But the next step now is going to be figuring out where we're going to put this thermostat at. So I still haven't made up my mind. When I do, I will show you guys where I'm going to put it. And then we can go from there and start making our lines. Alright guys, so we're having a hard time figuring out where we're going to put this thermostat at. There's not really too much room here that I can see. Because like I said, I am working on jack stand, so it's kind of hard. So I think what I'm going to do in the meantime is I'm just going to zip tie it here to the rear subframe with some like heavy duty zip ties. Just make sure that it clears your half shaft, which it should. Shouldn't give us any issues. But anyways, what I'm gonna do for the meantime is I'm just gonna zip tie it here to this little cross brace. I'll put some heavy duty zip ties. I'll put a couple of them to make sure it doesn't move, and then sometime when I have time to put this thing on a lift, then I'll see if I can find a better location. But like I said, for the meantime, we're just gonna put it here. It shouldn't give us any issues. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the fittings that comes in the kit. We're gonna put the fittings in here, and then we're also gonna put the fittings on there so we can see how long we have to make our hoses. So let's do that bad boy first. Alright guys, the next step, when you guys order the kit from Joshua, he's gonna send you a couple of links. If you guys watched part 1, I told you that there's a couple of things you have to order extra aside from the kit. So that's gonna be these 8N fittings. These are 8AN. I hope you can see that. Focus, baby. Alright, anyways, they are 8AN to 1/2 inch NPT adapters. So we're gonna put these on the oil cooler or thermostat, and then we're gonna start making our links lines. So now these fittings, they are tapered. That's why they are NPT fittings. So the more that you tighten these down, the larger that the threads start to get on here, since they're tapered. So it starts to seal itself. So you can put thread seal on here as you want also. I don't have any, so we're just gonna rely on this. So they should seal. Now the more you start adding parts to this thing, the beefier it starts to get. So this one had an issue going in. Uh-oh. You guys, I lied. I do have some. So I feel safe doing it right the first time, than having to go underneath the car and doing it again. So we're just gonna put a little bit of thread seal on here now that we're here. Actually, let me put you guys on time lapse. Alright guys, so we got the thermostat with our fittings all bolted down. This one had a little issue going in. I don't think the threads were cleaned up as much from this company, but it does have thread seal in there, and it did go in, and she is fucking tight. So I hope I don't have any leaks. If I do have leaks, I'll just have to buy a new one of these or return this one. So we shall see. But just look out for that. Other than that, all the other MPT fittings are pretty much in. They have thread seal tightened down. So now we are going to put the other fittings. We're going to use the 90 elbows that came in Joshua's kit. These are the ones of my choice that I'm going to go with to go on the transmission. Let me get that unboxed. So this is the one that's going to go inside of the transmission on those two bungs that we just put on there. Now I've never made one of these before. I never had to make one of these hoses. So we're going to do this together. I have a feeling I know how to do it, but let's see. Alright you guys, so like I said, next step what we're going to do is we're going to put the 90 on the transmission. We're going to put our thermostat in the location that we want it at, wherever you guys want it at your choice as well. My case, like I said, I'm just going to zip tie it into the rear of the subframe until I can get the car onto a lift and then put it in a different location. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the 90 for the transmission, put our thermostat in position. We also need these. These came in Joshua's kit. There's 4 of these. These are what we tie onto this spot, and that's how our AN line connects to the other 8AN. So we're gonna put this on like how it's supposed to. We're gonna tie this onto the transmission, and all we're gonna do is measure the distance from here to here at the end of the fitting as best as you can. But you gotta be careful too, because if you pull the fitting out, you're only gonna be looking for about this much hose. You're not looking to get the hose all the way at the end of the bung over here, because then your hose is going to be too long. Also, if you look at underneath here, you see all that thread. So basically you want to find your hose to match this area right here. You're not looking for the hose, your measurement, to go over here. It's at the end right here where it starts to taper basically. That way you get your perfect length. Alright you guys, so now we're back at the bottom of the transmission. We're going to do our top hose first. We'll get that one out the way. So like I said, we're just going to put our 90 fitting on there. We're going to do it tight by hand, you know, just nice and snug. That seems pretty good right there. We're going to want to come down with it a little bit, because when we jack up this when the transmission gets jacked up, it's going to start interfering here with the trans tunnel. So just be careful with that. When you go to jack up the transmission, just watch out. So I'm going to put mine down at a hard 90. I'll probably put it like at a 45-degree angle. And then I'm going to put my thermostat in the location that I want it. It should probably be somewhere around there. And then yeah, so you see it's not gonna work because we're gonna put a hard bend in order for it to fit like that. Alright, so you guys are gonna be on trial and error with me. So we gotta figure out a location to put this fucking thermostat. So let's work together and let's get it. Alright you guys, so I think I found another location. So when you do the coolant reservoir relocation kit, it brings a coolant reservoir here, and it also has a bracket for the power steering that relocates that as well. I'm thinking about putting the thermostat right around here, and then what I'll do is I'll fabricate a bracket on top to utilize the 4 bolts that come up on top of the thermostat. So I'm thinking about it coming right here. That's really the only spot that I can see with my situation on jack stands. But here's the setup that it's going to be. So you're going to have your straight fittings come over here. These are going to lead towards the oil cooler, and then these are going to go down towards the firewall. So it's like the perfect angle. These are 45s. So I think this is going to be my setup for now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 80N line on this fitting, and I'm going to throw it down towards the transmission, and then I'll do my elimination over there, and I'll cut it and then do my splicing and stuff like that. So first off, let's get a line on this and throw it down. Alright you guys, we're going to get the roll of 80N line that Joshua throws in the kit. Like I said, we're going to start with the top one, get that one out the way. So we're going to take that off. We're using the 45s that came in Joshua's kit. So now the 80N line already comes with tape on the end. Make sure you guys have a roll of electrical tape or scotch tape or something. You want so that plastic sits flush. Once that plastic sits flush, then you can force this bad boy in. So let's try to get that. All right. Not sure if you can see it inside there, but the plastic is sitting completely flush with that little insert. So now it should give you a good seal as long as you get this inserted all the way in. So now what we're gonna also do is put a little bit of lubrication on this so we can help guide ourselves in. If you got any dirt or anything in there, just clean it up real nicely. So I need to get some oil. I'll be right back. All right, you guys, so I got myself like a little bottle lid of oil. So you're gonna put a little bit of oil over the tip like that, and you rub it in real nicely. That way you're not trying to put metal on dry plastic. It guides in a lot better with oil. So we're gonna go ahead and try to insert that. I can feel it basically pressing in. See, I fucking cut myself. You gotta be careful. I can feel it basically stepping in. So just keep at it until you're all the way seated. And then you should see it click all the way in. You'll fucking feel it. And it does take some pressure, but just keep at it and she'll go. So now what we're gonna do is, that is why we put this bad boy in first, because now that it's on there, now we're gonna start to tighten it. But now this is also another important step you gotta be careful with. While you're tightening this, keep pressure on this as well, so you're not separating it. You can't tell if it's separated or not once this is tight or it's inserted, because you can't see the wire anymore. So just as long as she's pressed in and you're holding it and you're screwing this in at the same time, you should be good. Then after this, once we have it hand tight and we can't go anymore, what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna put this on my vise and I'm gonna tighten this by hand. This part is going on my vise. This part I'm gonna have some pressure going down, and then this I'll just hit it with a wrench. That way I know it's not going anywhere, but this is just gonna keep tightening it. Not only that, since your steel wire, if you paid attention at the beginning, it basically tapers out. What it's gonna do is basically, it's gonna give it a backing stop, so this cannot move back anymore from this, but this can still push out. So if you keep pressure on this and you tighten it, it's gonna all hold itself to each other. So let's do that. I'll put on the vise and then I'll keep tightening it and I'll come back with the results. All right, you guys, so we got it all nice and tight. She's not going nowhere. So now we're gonna put this back on the oil cooler, or on the thermostat, sorry, and then we're gonna throw it down towards the trans tunnel and then get our measurement for our new line for the transmission. All right, guys, so that's where the thermostat sits. The line goes down all the way in the back. So now we're gonna go underneath the car. And then this is where our line comes down. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna bend it over to here so we can get our angle, mark it with like a Sharpie, and then put some electrical tape on where I want to cut, and then take the line back out, cut it, put it to this adapter, and then do the same thing for our other line. So we found a new spot. I actually kind of like the spot a little bit more, because when you open up the engine bay, I feel like it's gonna, you know, be something that not too many people have, and they're gonna be like, yo, what the hell is that? And then you can be like, well, I'm running 6hp28x, baby, from Joshua. So I actually like that idea a lot better. So I think we're gonna stay with that. The thermostat is gonna stay in the engine bay. I'm gonna fabricate a nice little bracket. I'll probably put the bracket to bolt down to the strut tower, or maybe I'll find out something else. We'll see. But that's where it's staying. This is where the line's gonna go. So let's keep on going, baby. Let's get this baby finished. Let's go. All right, guys, so now we're gonna grab ourselves a roll of electrical tape. We're gonna get ourselves a little piece. If I can get this shit out. It's fucking cold today, so my electrical tape is frozen, dog. All right, let's put that to the side. Now we want to figure out how much line we want, which I think about there. Of course. We're just gonna head and snip. And then we're gonna pull the line out. Alright guys, so we got our line cut to the length that we wanted it to, which isn't much, probably like 2 feet. So now what we're going to do is we're going to open that up a little bit, because how we cut it naturally, it's gonna want to fold over. Next, we're going to do the same process with our 90 from our transmission. Now this one's gonna be a little harder to do because how we cut it, it's gonna basically want to fold in on itself. It's gonna crimp. So let's get that bad boy in there. We're gonna get our little piece that went in. Now if you see, the inside is like folded in and crimped on the edges. We're gonna have to play with it a little bit in order to get this bad boy fitted. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'll bring you guys back. Alright you guys, so I got it in. So basically all I did was I grabbed a pair of like fuse pullers or whatever. I just kept going around until it started to round out again. So now we're gonna do the same process. Put a little bit of oil on our other part. Lubricate it up real nicely. We're gonna press that in. So she's pressed all the way in real nicely. Now bring the part back up, holding it together. I'm gonna bolt that down. Alright, let's take my hand. So now we're gonna do the same process on the vise. Alright guys, so we have our lines made. Here, I'll bring it over here so the vise is not in the way. We have our first line made. So super excited. It's actually my first time ever making one of these. Usually I just buy them, but in this case, since we're doing a whole custom install, we have to make our own. So it's actually fun. You get to experience something new. It actually was a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. I know I've seen YouTube videos on how to make them so I don't fuck it up. So the videos, they have like specialty tools and all that shit, of course, you know, so you don't scratch them, but honestly I don't care. You're not really gonna see it. So I just used my vise, clamped that down, went in there with an adjustable wrench, and she's fucking nice, bro. Also, another thing of these, you don't necessarily have to worry about, oh shit, this fitting is on backwards. It's actually supposed to be the other way around. These are swivels, so it's fucking nice. So you just swivel it wherever you want. That's a very nice feature. I know I've ordered some 8AN lines before, or some 4AN lines for my clutches and stuff like that on my other cars, and they are fixed, so you cannot swivel them or anything. And since it's a stainless braided line, it's not like you can twist it. If you twist it, you're gonna put a kink on the braid and stuff like that. It sucks. So with Joshua's fittings that he sends you, they're actually swivels, so they have like O-rings and everything built in inside, so you can actually, you know, have some flexibility in it, which is fucking nice. I love it. So Joshua, thank you for that. That's a nice touch. So now the next step is we have our first line made, so that's good to go. So now we're gonna start making our second line, and then this part towards the transmission should be good to go. So I should be able to bolt to the transmission and finish all that bad boy up. Then all we'll be missing is this part to go to the oil cooler, and then we have to eliminate the old oil cooler lines and oil cooler in front of the radiator and stuff like that. But from this part back, that's completely finished after we make this line. So I'm excited. Let's get this bad boy finished. got the trans lines to the thermostat all made up real nicely. We have our 90s, we have our 45s on here. So this is how it's gonna sit in the engine bay real nicely. I actually like that look, to be honest. You know, the nice silver with the black accents and shiny lines and everything. It looks pretty cool. Maybe in the future what I might look for is for a separate 80N line with like that rubber shielding over it, just so I'm not worried about the metal rubbing into any of my other hoses or my wiring or anything. But the location that I ran them in, they should be fine, but it's just something I want to look forward to in the future. I like to keep my builds as clean as possible. But this is how it's gonna go. And then we have our 90s that go down to our transmissions. So now we're gonna run this through. We're gonna go down there, we're gonna connect it, tighten everything up, and then we're gonna leave this up in the location that we want it to stay in, and then we are going to finish up bolting up the transmission and everything. That way we can get that out of the way, and all we have to focus on now is mocking up this oil cooler and filling up the transmission. So let's get this bad boy finished. So now that we got those oil lines and everything bolted down and everything's cut to length, now we don't have to worry about anything being in our way. So now what we're going to be doing is installing that hash shaft and get that out the way. So this is the last piece of a Joshua's adapter plate kit. This is another important part. Since we added that spacer there to extend the transmission back about 3/8 to an inch, whatever the thickness this is, we have to also extend the same length that we did to that plate of the transmission to the front differential shaft from the transfer case right there. So without this, your shaft won't match up. So that's how it goes. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the half shaft on the rear, get that bolted down, and then we're gonna put the spacer in the front. And then Joshua's kit also comes with hardware L. These are extended bolts from the factory ones. That way you can you can screw down the drive shaft and the adapter plate to the front differential mount. So let's get that bad boy bolted on as well. Alrighty, you guys, so we got the bracket shaved down for it to clear the shaft, and then also that long bolt that was sticking out through here, cut that bad boy off and trim it up as high as possible. That gave us enough clearance for our shaft here for the front differential. This bracket I don't need, but because the reason is that the shifter that we went with is an E-part, so it has solenoids on the electronic shifter that actually puts the what this is for is like if your battery's ever dead or anything, you can actually put it in like neutral, take it out of parking without the battery. But in our case, if our battery was to ever die or anything, we just have to come underneath the car and just flip this up manually. But we are going to be doing the conversion over for the E-Park. So I just don't have the brackets or anything because of the year that this transmission came out of. Unfortunately, I didn't have it, but that's no biggie. We're just going to do the conversion over. It's only like a couple of bucks. We just got to order the new brackets and everything to hook up this one. This comes from the shifter. So inside the shifter, like I said, it has some solenoids or whatever that pulls this in. So no biggie. So don't be afraid to trim this down and cut it and anything, because if you will do the conversion as well, this stuff gets replaced anyways. So on to the next step is putting on our drive shaft, baby. Alright guys, so let me get you guys some better lighting. So that's the adapter plate inside there with the extended bolts, L hardware letter L. So it came with 4 Allen head bolts. They're longer than the factory ones, you know, to acquire for the adapter plate. So we have that in there. We have the bolts, blue Loctite as well, so I didn't forget it this time. So that's mounted up. That's mounted up. We use the factory bolts and everything for this side. There's no spaces or anything for that. It's all clearance here. I can spin the shaft. No scrape marks, no nothing. It's kind of hard to spin with one hand. But everything's hooked up. Our transmission cooler lines are in there. They're cleared. Everything is nice, baby. So now what we gotta do is we just gotta zip tie this out the way until I can do the conversion kit. When I do that, then we'll use this. But in the meantime, we're not gonna use it, and I don't plan on my battery being dead anytime soon. So from the looks of it, we're officially done down here. Alrighty guys, so the transmission's all bolted back up. Everything's lined up real nicely. The only thing that we're missing is the subframe. But anyways, now the transmission's bolted back up. We hooked up the drive shaft. Let me get down here. We hooked up the drive shaft. All that's bolted up real nicely, just like factory. Nothing has changed. All dimensions, everything's still the same, just like OEM, which is fucking beautiful. So with my understanding, if we have the adapter plate on there and then we also hooked up the transmission, but our drive shaft is still able to hook up, what I'm thinking is that the 6hp28 and the 6hp28x is just a smaller base than the OEM, if that makes sense. If we're adding like a 3/4 inch plate and our drive shaft is still able to bolt up no problem, that's just what makes sense to me. But anyways, Joshua's cross brace for the transmission that he put in the kit is bolted up along with his bushing. That bolts tight. Drive shaft's hooked up. All the connectors for the transfer case actuator, that's all hooked up. Now the only thing that we have to do is, if you guys remember, I used the old OEM oil pan that was on here, just so when I jack it up I don't break the new one. So now what I'm doing is I'm just draining any oil that's inside there. We're gonna pop this off. We're gonna put the new one. We're gonna put all the bolts and everything. We're gonna tighten those down, and then that should be good to go. And then also we're gonna be working on the oil cooler. So I already cheated and I got that bad boy mocked up where I want it so far. So all I did was I just cut a little bit of angle iron and I drilled the holes and I put them to the side, and I tack welded it over there to the metal bumper. Not sure if you can really see that much over there. So now I'm just gonna put another piece over here, another plate, so I can line it up over there and weld that on there, so it'll be nice and solid. Right now it's solid, she ain't going nowhere just by that little tack. So I like this design. I feel like it's secured. The only thing that I'm worried for is when I go to turn, I just gotta make sure I have the clearance for that. If I don't have the clearance for that, I'll just have to cut the tack welds, cut a little bit off the bumper here, and then push that forward. Again, this was my choice of going with the 25 row, just so it fits my bumper. Joshua recommends a 15 row. If I would put the 50 row, I probably would have had better clearance. But this is my choice, so this is what I got to deal with. So we're just gonna put that little plate over there. We're gonna tack weld that, and then if I like it, then weld it all solid, and then make our lines. Our line's gonna go through over here with a sharp 90 that comes through here, and then the lines are gonna come up through the headlight, and then they're gonna come up like somewhere around here, and then that's where my oil thermostat is at. So I gotta make a bracket for that to hold it up real nicely, and then the lines are going down towards the transmission. So we're moving along very nicely. Here's the front view of the bumper, and then it's kind of hard to see, but I bet you out in the sunlight you'll see the oil cooler there no problem, but it lines up fucking perfectly. So super excited. So let's get the new oil pan on and bolt it down, and then we go from there. Alright guys, so we got the oil pan and everything bolted up. We also have the oil cooler and everything mocked up. So we have some plates inside there welded on, holding it. She ain't going nowhere. So now the next step is to start making our lines for it. So the oil coolers, they come 10 AN bungs, but in Joshua's kit he throws in 10 AN to 8 AN adapters. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna fit these onto the oil cooler, and then we have a hard 90 that he has also in the kit that we're gonna put on here for the lines. So one tip that I like to do when I'm doing AN fittings, on the threads themselves I put a little bit of blue Loctite, not much. You don't put it on the top of the surface, you don't put it on top. I just put it on the threads just to make sure that these don't back off and they don't come loose. These are known for leaking, but as long as you get them torqued down and everything, they should be good. But just as a precaution, I like to put a little I like to put a little bit of blue Loctite on there just to hold them down. So we're gonna keep on putting these fittings on. Let's get this bad boy finished. All right guys, so finally got the oil cooler and everything. It's all bolted up. All the 8AN lines. That's a fucking tongue twister. Ugh. Anyways, the 8AN lines are finally all mocked up. Everything's cut to length. It's hiding behind the headlight and it's coming up here. So that's the bracket and everything is welded onto the bumper, the metal bumper. So she's solid, she ain't going nowhere. Lines are all made, everything's hidden up, so nothing should be in the way of the tire. I just had to clean up this wiring harness for the headlight. But up here, the lines come up here, so I'm just gonna zip tie them there real nicely, and then they're gonna come around here and connect there to the thermostat, and then from the thermostat it goes down to the transmission over there. So that's moving along real nicely. So now what I'm gonna try to attempt to do is to fill the transmission up from these lines here, just because I don't want to drop the transmission, fill it from the side, and then do the heat cycle and all that stuff. I don't have time for any of that. So we're gonna attempt to try to fill it from here. If it works, then perfect. We just have to put the amount of oil that the transmission calls for. And then we also have to remember we have to fill up the oil cooler with oil as well. So we're also gonna do that. So I think first what I'll do is I'll fill up the oil cooler and then I'll start working on the transmission. So let's get to that. Alright, so for the oil type that we're gonna be using for the transmission is Hot Shot Secrets Adrenaline transmission fluid, speed shift. So this is what Joshua recommended to use. So this is what we're gonna put in that bad boy. We got 3 gallons of this stuff. So I don't know exactly how much we have to use. I have to search the specifications, but this is what we're gonna be using. Alright guys, so during the time lapse, we started to fill up the transmission through the transmission thermostat cooler, whatever you want to call it. That's the easiest way for me to fill it at this point. So we just filled it from here. Once we started to see some bubbles, then I can tell that, you know, it's starting to get a little full. So all we did was we put a gallon and like maybe a gallon and a quarter inside there. So now we're going to put the rest of that gallon inside the oil cooler itself. We're going to fill that up, and then we're going to tie everything all together, and then we're going to do our the process to make sure that's properly filled. So once we tie everything off, you turn on the car and you let the transmission get up to temp. I forgot what temp it is. Once I'll do some research and I'll figure out what it is. When I show you guys the process of all that, I'll tell you guys the temperature that's supposed to be at and stuff. You can see all that stuff via MHD. But for now, we're just gonna finish filling up the oil cooler and then put a little bit more oil in the thermostat, and then we'll do our first startup on this. So super excited. Hope you guys are. Let's keep at it, baby. Alright guys, so we're gonna attempt to do first start. So again, shifter is on. Actually, let me turn the light in here. My battery was dead, so have it charging. Let's see if it starts. Because you know the battery was dead and it was unplugged for so long, whatever, but I do have this, so just give it a few. Just hold on, we have that. So we have to set up the computer and we have to do a little bit more coding. Joshua's guy, he's gonna be doing that for us, but most important thing is that first startup is successful. So I don't hear any noise or anything coming from the transmission. Everything started up perfectly fine. So I can't go into gear or anything yet until we finish the coding process. So let's get that hooked up. Alrighty guys, so we're having an issue. We did the first startup and everything, that was all successful, but it won't let me go into park, reverse, drive, neutral, or anything. So what we're thinking is that this shifter, probably from the person that I bought it off of, when he was pulling it or whatever, he probably messed with the wiring or hit it or something, I don't know. Anyway, so it's flashing neutral. So right now it's basically forced in that position. So what we have to do is reset it. So what we're gonna do is, on top of the shifter, you're gonna see that little coin looking thing, that flathead thing. So basically you're gonna grab a flathead screwdriver and then you're gonna turn it to the left. This is basically just opening it, you're unlocking it. Then you're gonna grab the rope that's on there and you're just gonna pull it up, wiggle it out because of wiring. So now you have access that. So now you see that little cylinder looking thing. We're gonna grab a flathead screwdriver, we're gonna put it inside just like that, and then we're gonna bring it back until it clicks. Oh, actually I need a smaller screwdriver. This one's too big, so let's try this one. So we're gonna go back inside there just like that, and then we're gonna pull it all the way back until it basically locks and clicks right there, right? So now we're still getting our neutral thing, but now what we should do is, once we pull the screwdriver up, it should reset, hopefully. So let's hope for the best. So now just pull it straight up, and then it should have clicked in there, but unfortunately it didn't. So all right, so it worked that time. Alright guys, so good news, we figured out what was wrong with it. So my issue was the parking line that goes from the shifter, that hard line that goes underneath the trans tunnel, something was actually blocking it. So the little solenoids inside here, the actuators that were trying to move it in and out, was not able to move freely. So that's why it was locking me into neutral position. But we finally had the park and we were able to put it in drive and neutral and reverse and everything. So we got that fixed. So now we can pop this bad boy into place and put it all back together. So thank God for that. So now let's go on to the next step, which is doing the filling procedure. So we are going to put this back on, go at the bottom, remove the fill plug. As soon as we start the car, we're going to start the car, remove the fill plug, and then we're going to start pumping it with some oil. Then we're going to put it in park, reverse, neutral, drive. Then we're gonna go to sport and try to go through all the gears, and then we're gonna keep doing that same procedure until it's dumping oil out the fill plug. I'll show you guys that. Fuck that. Just gotta do one more thing. So as you guys know, we put an aftermarket oil cooler for the transmission. So that means we have to get rid of the factory transmission oil cooler, which is that one. It's gonna be in front of your radiator fan, and it's gonna have one little Torx bit that's gonna hold it up. You have 2 coolant lines that go to it, and then you have two transmission lines that go through it. So in order to remove that, first what we're gonna do is remove the transmission hard lines. So it's these 2 connectors right here. You're gonna remove those, and then they have 2 10mm bolts that go on the side of the motor that hold it over. Those are already loose, so it's all ready to go. I'm just gonna remove from here. All right, guys, so my fucking GoPro died, but anyways, we're gonna remove those lines and everything. Now the last piece in Joshua's kit is part G, if you can see here. So basically all this is the coolant block offs. So you're gonna insert these inside the coolant line, and then the washer is gonna go on the clip side, so that's gonna go right on top. So it should go something like this. So put the spacer in, washer, put some little lubricant or something on here so you don't pinch the o-ring while you're trying to insert it. So anyways, you have a coolant line that comes down over there by the steering rack, and then you also have another coolant line over here on the radiator that goes to the cooler. Here, let me see if I can get some light in there for you guys. This coolant line right here that comes from the radiator, and then the other coolant line down there that goes to underneath the steering rack. So that's where these block offs are going to go. This goes to the transmission cooler, so that's going to get deleted, that's going to get deleted, and all we have to do is just zip tie these hoses out the way, put your fan back in, and you are good to go. You officially deleted the factory oil cooler, and we're only going to be using the new oil cooler, which is right there, thermostat. So let's get that bad boy on. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to show you how to install it just because it's a tight area and we're going to make a little bit of a mess, but hopefully you guys got a good idea of how it's supposed to go on. Let's get it, baby. Alright guys, so this is the first coolant line. This is where I told you guys it's going to be. It's on this hard line right here. So you have the little, I don't know, whip, whatever you want to call it, that comes out of it. That's what connects to the oil cooler right there. So all you did was remove it. Now that little spacer gets inserted inside there, and then you leave the clip out. So now next step, what we're going to do is get that footage in. Next, you grab the little washer thing that Joshua has in the kit. We're gonna insert it inside there like that. We're gonna make sure it's fully seated all the way down so it clips. Grab a flathead screwdriver, just make sure it's all the way in there, guaranteed. And then put your clip in. So now you should be able to see, yep. So now you should see that the clip is over the washer. So now it's perfectly sealed. So now we're going to go ahead and do that to the other line. The other line I won't be able to show you because it's, you know, far up in there, but hopefully you guys have a good idea of how it's supposed to go on. So next step, now we are finally going to be doing the filling procedure for the transmission. So we're going to go down to the transmission on passenger side for the 6hp28. So we're looking for this fill bolt right here. Hello, film that. We're going to be looking for this fill bolt, that Allen head bolt right there. So that's how you fill the transmission. If you guys saw on the time lapse and everything, I filled it the other way just to get some oil inside the transmission because I do not want to leave this thing dry, and I had a bunch of process and everything to do after. So anyways, so I know there's oil in here, so what we're going to do is we're going to remove this fill plug. We're going to get that backed out. So let me get my ratchet. Open it up. Now what we're looking for is for oil to spill out. So if I have enough in here, then so yes, I do have enough oil in there. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start the car. When I start the car, all the oil and everything should get sucked up. So let me put that back in there. When I start the car, theoretically the oil and everything should get sucked up from the pump. So then at that point I should have oil to stop pouring out. When the oil stops pouring out, that means you gotta pump some more in. So we're gonna have our pump in hand. Actually, let me get that. So this is gonna be a pump setup that we're gonna be using. I just went to Advanced Auto Parts and I bought a little pump that screws onto your gallon of choice or your quart. We're gonna screw that on, and then our fill hose is gonna get poured inside there. And we're gonna keep pumping until the oil starts to flow out. When it starts to flow out, then you do the gear process. So you're gonna put it in park, you're gonna put it in reverse, you're gonna put it in neutral, you're gonna put it in drive, and then you're gonna keep pumping oil, and then you should try to go through each gear as well, like first gear, second gear, third gear, as many as you can. While you're doing that, you're gonna have your foot on the brakes, obviously, so your wheels don't go crazy. When you finish the fill procedure, you're gonna put the plug on while it's pouring out, and then shut off the car. Do not shut off the car before you put this plug on, because then the pump is gonna let go of all the oil and it's gonna overflow out, and you're gonna lose your oil. So let's get that done, and then we should be good to go. Alrighty guys, so we did the filling procedure and all that stuff. Now we're not done with it, but we ran into our first issue, oil leaks. So our oil leak, the only leak that we have on this car so far is coming from right here on the thermostat for the oil cooler. Now I had a feeling it was gonna leak because this AN fitting did not want to go on all the way like the others. So I'm gonna take it back out, and I have a feeling that there's maybe some burrs or anything from the machining process whenever they made this thermostat. Now I did put Teflon tape and all that stuff to try to seal it, but fortunately it didn't work. So we're gonna pull it back out, we're gonna check the threads, see what the hell's going on in there, and then try to get it to sit in more. If not, we're gonna put some more Teflon tape and just to get it to seal for now, and then we might have to order another one of these or get it replaced. So I'm gonna have to email the company for this, but for now we're just gonna pull it apart and see what we got going on. So let's do that. Alrighty guys, so we found our issue, I believe. So our AN fitting that we put on here, we took it out, and the first thread that was on there looks like it separated. So I'm not sure what happened there. So all we did was we grabbed the flathead screwdriver, we just finished breaking off that little thread that was hanging off, and we cleaned up the rest. We filed it down so it has a smooth transition to start the new one. So we could put that back on. It does look like it threaded in a lot more than it did before. We put extra Teflon tape on there just in case, but all I'm doing that for now is just so it doesn't leak and we can finish our braking process. I will be ordering a new one because I don't like half-assed shit, but A&A Auto is local to me and they are closed on the weekend, so I'm kind of screwed, and I would like to get this car finished and started up for you guys, and actually let's see if we can take it for around the block. But that's what we found. We're gonna put it back together and we're gonna finish our filling procedure for the transmission. Just wanted to let you guys know what we found. You know, nobody's perfect, we all run into issues. I want you guys to be a part of my issues as well, so you guys can see it, so in case you guys have the same issues on your process, you can see what I did to fix it. So I don't want to make my videos, you know, this guy never has issues with his install. That's not true. That is not true. We all run into issues. We're, you know, there's professionals out in the world that still run into issues. It's just the matter of what are you gonna do to fix it. So we're gonna put this back together and we're gonna finish our oiling procedure. Alrighty guys, so we're in the middle of doing the transmission process, as you guys seen the time lapse. So the process to do that is, first, before you ever start this car, I hope you guys can hear me. Bella, do me a favor, close that door. Let me close these windows up. Windows all closed. So hopefully you guys can hear me a little bit better. So we have no check engine light, so it's fucking perfect. And no, I did not hook up my Thor or anything. Actually, to show you guys, I had it in my pocket. My brother just got home, he had it on his M4. But anyways, no check engine light, so nothing on the car. We do have the all-wheel drive, the DSC malfunction or whatever. That's because I had the battery unplugged. So, you know, when you plug it back in, you have to do a drive around the block or whatever just to reset everything. But anyways, so we have the transmission filled up. Before you ever start the car, you want to make sure that you have enough oil inside that transmission. Actually, let me turn it around. You want to make sure you have enough oil inside that transmission so you don't basically do a dry start on there. So, yeah, put some lighting. So on the side of the fill plug on the transmission where I showed you guys earlier, pull that out, pump it up with transmission oil, and then if you guys saw the process that I did, I even filled up my oil cooler with oil as well, so I have no dries or anything. When you are actually 100% sure that transmission is full of oil and is dumping out, then you can officially start the car. As soon as you start the car, you want to have somebody down there ready to start pumping oil, because what's going to happen is when that vacuum pump pulls all that oil out, it's basically going to empty out the oil pan. So now all the oil is going to the oil cooler, is filling up any air voids or whatever that's throughout the lines, the system. So you're going to have somebody down there pumping oil when the car is idling. Once you start having oil actually flowing out again while you're pumping, then you can actually start cycling through the gears. So we're gonna go on here. We have it in park already. We're gonna throw it in reverse. We're gonna hold it there for about 5-6 seconds. We're gonna throw it in neutral, hold it in there for like 5-6 seconds, put it in drive, 5-6 seconds. Then you're gonna try to put it, actually, you know what we can do is put it back in park, you know, just to get that air and everything out. Then you can go up to manual sport and then try to shift it through all the gears. So in my case, I was actually able to go through all the gears. Here, I'll show you guys. So we're in drive, we're gonna shift it over to sport. We have S1, and we're gonna try to put it in gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear, sixth gear. We're gonna try to do all that stuff. It's gonna want to shift you back down to like second or first gear, just because, you know, we're in neutral. But the point is to try to go through all the gears and all that stuff, because of the valve body and transmission. It has voids and all that stuff that it leads to the solenoids and all that stuff. So when we drain the oil transmission, all that oil comes out, so now you have air pockets inside there. So what we do is we cycle through each gear, and what that's going to do is allow the solenoids to allow the hydraulic pressure to go inside there and get rid of all the air. So that's also space that's taking up oil, so that's why it's very important to have somebody else to keep pumping oil inside there, so we don't go dry and burn our clutch packs and all that stuff. But now what we're doing is we're letting the transmission get up to temp. Our transmission is full. We do have the plug on. I did not shut off the car. What we're gonna do is just let it get up to temp, get a little bit warmer, and then we're gonna go back down there. We're gonna pull the drain plug out. If it doesn't overflow out, then you have to pump more oil. Do the same thing all over again, go through all the gears and all that stuff, and then you keep doing that process until you're 100% sure your transmission is full. Now here's the most important part. When your transmission at the end of your process is flowing out oil, do not shut off the car without putting on that drain plug, or that fill plug, sorry. Do not shut off the car without putting on that full plug and tightening it down, because the vacuum and the pump and all that stuff is now gonna let go of the oil. The oil is gonna dump back into the oil pan, and it's gonna all flow out. So now you lost all the oil that you needed to fill the whole system up. So before you shut off the car, make sure you put your oil fill plug back on, tighten it down, and then you can safely shut off your car, and you're 100% done with filling up the transmission. So that's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna finish it, fill it, do all that stuff. Then what we're gonna do is put my wheels back on, and hopefully we can go for a test drive. So see you guys then. Alright guys, so time for moment of truth. So the whole install is finally complete. Transmission is filled with oil properly. No more leaks, and basically everything is done, bro. So now what we're gonna do is see if she moves on her own. So we're gonna try to back her out the garage in reverse, and let's see if she goes. And if it doesn't, then we probably need a little bit more coating, but let's see what happens. Moment of truth. exhaust on here. Right now it's just open downpipe, but it's just for testing purposes in case we want to go down there and check for leaks or anything. I don't have to remove a whole fucking exhaust. She's alive. Don't mind that fucking wheel. I cracked my rib. She's alive. And no more leaks. No more leaks. I had the rag there just to see if it does leak so I can catch it, but everything is dry. No more leaks. Super excited. Alright, let's shut off the car. Check out those lights. Check out the oil cooler. Yes, sir. Clearance. Everything is clear. Alright, guys, so first test drive. Let's get it. Watch this. Check this out. We got parking. Reverse. As it should. So before we leave the driveway and everything, I'm just going to drive up to make sure I don't get stranded anymore. So we're going to put it back in drive. We're going to drive up. Ah, she's driving, baby! Let's try it. Time to go around the block now. No turning back. There goes my exhaust. Let me see something. Let me just make sure everything's good. Alright. We're good. I just forgot that this bitch is lowered. I was used to driving that big ass SUV, so I'm not used to low heights. Alright, let's go. What's that way? Second gear just shifted. Third gear, I just felt it shift. So she's shifting on her own. So she's communicating with the car, she's staying and driving everything. That was fourth gear, just shifted on its own. Super excited. So now let's start a sport. Downshifted on its own. We're in second gear. Manual shift down, first gear. Second gear. Oh, she shifts amazing, bro. I hope you guys can hear that turbo spool too. This Borg Warner sounds insane. So we're in manual right now. That's first. Second gear. Third gear, shifting on her own. So let's just keep going around the block. We're taking it easy. I just want to make sure everything works. I don't hear any noises. Regular driving and everything, and the car feels super smooth. No vibrations or nothing from that solid bushing from the transmission that Joshua put in the kit. So it feels just like if it was OEM. So this is super exciting, guys. Super exciting. So we're gonna downshift the second gear. We're gonna go around the block. You know, we're taking a couple of potholes and everything here because I have shitty roads in my area. And I'm trying to get away from my house because of all the fucking Karens. So check engine light, no nothing. I still haven't connected MHD. So this swap is fucking amazing, bro. For all the guys who spend money doing like 2, 3, 4 transmissions, bro, waste of time. Get on the train, bro. Get with Joshua and get your 6hp28 swap, bro. I'm telling you guys, it's a game changer. Actually, I forgot to turn on traction control. I fucking broke traction. All-wheel drive 6hp28. Bro, I haven't drove my car in 3 months, baby. Super exciting. Sorry for the long video, you guys, but I want to take you guys on a test drive with us. You guys have to be here with us.
that's gonna be it for this video. We finally completed the 6hp28x swap. So I believe, according to Joshua, I think I'm the 9th or the 10th person to have done this so far. So everything was successful. Everything from Joshua's kit bolted on. I had no issues whatsoever, besides, you know, like little stuff here and there, like an oil leak or stuff, but that's, you know, errors from me. But Joshua's kit 100% bolted on. I had no issues, and he was there 100% of the time to help me through the install. So thank you, Joshua. I support you, you support us. I appreciate it, bro. This kit is phenomenal. So now it's time to get the tune, and let's see what this bad boy can do. So future videos coming up on dyno sessions and all that stuff to see what, you know, if my numbers have changed from different transmission. I had slipping issues on here, so we'll probably do draggy times. We'll do pulls on here to see if the transmission is holding up. But super excited, guys. We finally did it. So thank you guys for all the love and support. Thank you for everybody on Joshua's group chat that he has of everybody doing the 6HP swap. I appreciate every single one of you guys that had helped me out throughout the support. But thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment, and we'll see you guys on the next one. See ya.